Welcome to the Church Street Podcast. My name is Grant. I'm the senior pastor of First Grapevine Methodist Church, and it is a joy to get to be here with you. One thing I want to ask you right off the bat, and talk about this with somebody. I volunteer myself, maybe someone in your family. What was your favorite part of the holidays? What did you enjoy the most? If you went to a church service, if you watched one online, if you watched a Christmas movie or Christmas special, what was the most meaningful thing that happened? I'd love to hear from the people in the room, but in a minute, I'll let us all ponder that. I'll let you ponder that, dear listener. It is a joy to be here with you. I have in the room with me our production manager, the person behind all of our audio and video needs, or one of the people. We have a growing team, but this is now the OG of our video production, Mr. Paul Bielss. Paul, how are you?
I've never been called an OG before, but thank you. I appreciate that.
I think you've aged into it. Congratulations. Yeah. Well, good to have you here with us.
It's great to be here.
And the only other person with us in the room is someone who works with us on staff, and we had to lasso him to get him to come in here and agree to do this. But he came in kicking and screaming. This is Mr. Jeff Roper. He is our Chief Operations Officer at the church. That is a new position that was created this year to assist with all the things that we have going on in terms of the day-to-day business of our church, which of course is a lot of ministry. It's a lot of, there's just a lot of moving parts. I don't know how to explain it exactly. But I just want to talk with Jeff, get him to introduce himself, but also talk to him about what he's excited about coming in the new year here on Church Street. What are we looking forward to, and what do you hope to see happen? So first of all, who are you and where are you from?
Thank you for having me here today. I'm Jeff Roper, and I am originally from Jackson, Mississippi, and lived there in the Dallas-Fort Worth area most of my life. Was raised Catholic, and became a Methodist when my wife and I married in 1982. We just celebrated 43 years of marriage.
Congratulations!
And thank you, and condolences to Claudia for surviving 43 years with me. But
we were all thinking it.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody had to say it, so I went ahead and did it. So we've been Methodist our whole adult lives. And
now, was she Methodist before? Is that how?
She was actually raised both United Methodist and Evangelical Methodist. If you know anything about Evangelical Methodist, it's a little small offshoot of United Methodist. I think they broke off in the 40s or something like that. And so she was, most of her childhood growing up, she was in the Evangelical Methodist Church there in Duncanville, Texas. And so we've been Methodist together during our marriage and raised our kids Methodist and all of that. And,
has she sung at all of the churches that you've been at?
She has been singing since she was a child, and she has been directing children's choirs since she was a teenager. And
if you haven't heard her, she's got a beautiful voice, and I know that I'm going to try to get this podcast out as quick as I can, so hopefully this will be a commercial. She is singing in service on Sunday, I believe.
She is singing in 8:30 and 11 o'clock traditional services on Sunday. So
awesome.
Yes. She has the musical talent in the family, not me. So,
So this is your first local church job.
It is. It is.
So what did you do as a career?
So I went to the University of Texas at Arlington and graduated with a degree in accounting and went to work for a CPA firm. It's now called KPMG. When I was there, it was Pete Marwick Mitchell when I first started there, but it's now called KPMG. I worked there for 9 years and then went to work for Alcon Laboratories and worked at Alcon Laboratories again in financial areas of the company for 24 years. And retired from there, and I was retired for about 9 months when Bishop Lowry contacted me, and we had some conversations, and he asked me to come on to staff part-time at the conference office in Fort Worth, and so I did that, and then it turned into full-time, and so I did that for about 6.5 years, and retired from that in 2022, and was happily retired until we started talking in the spring, and here I am, starting in July as Chief Operating Officer here at Grapevine. But it's fun. had a lot of fun with. We were members here first before I came on staff here, and so I already knew some of the people at the church. But I've gotten to know a bunch more people at the church, and that's been fun. And really been working with a great staff. This is a fun place to work with a great staff, so that makes it worthwhile.
Did we have to pay him for that commercial, or
The plug about our
great staff and everything?
right? Yeah. No,
10s and 20s, please.
that's really interesting. I don't want to dwell too much on working for the conference office, other than to say that's a very different thing to work for a church conference, a large group of churches, and the hierarchy. It's different from that than coming into the local church. Things are just different here. It's the front lines of ministry and kingdom building.
Yeah,
how have you found that so far?
It's been fun. It's been challenging. So one of the things about my career all along, even back at KPMG and at Alcon, is I always like to try new things I haven't done before, things to challenge me, things to just stretch my brain in a different way. And so I've always enjoyed that. And so it's been fun just sort of navigating sort of local church stuff that is sort of behind the scenes. A lot of people don't get to see, and just find out what are we going to do about that, and we need to have a policy on that. What's our policy, and how are we going to do that? And so it's just been a lot of fun. I think the conference work in some ways prepared me very well, because it gave me perspectives across different churches as to how different churches do things. And yet the work is very, very different, as you said, on the front lines of the church. And so you're dealing with those issues in real time, as opposed to the conference office. You sort of heard about them after the fact, if you heard about them at all. But at the conference office, you might hear about these things that went on in the church after the fact. You didn't hear about them while they were, and you weren't living through them, in real time while they were happening. So just all kinds of strange stuff. I was here a couple of weeks and got into a question on our cell tower lease. For those that don't know, we have a cell tower in our steeple at the church, and it's a Verizon cell tower, and they pay us rent each year. And they had hired a consultant who was threatening to terminate our lease. And so I had to find the lease and read the lease and explain to him that he couldn't terminate the lease, that it was already renewed for another 5 years. And then he wanted us to, reduce the amount of money that we were receiving on the lease. And I explained we weren't going to do that. And so just, I didn't even know we had a cell tower in the steeple until I got into this. So.
Now, Grant and I were talking about that steeple because we've had a lot of strong winds lately, and the steeple is rated more than basically some of the building parts, right?
Theoretically, because whenever we replace the steeple, fun stuff about church history that there's no reason to know this. It had to be rated at a higher wind resistance than the previous one. And I don't remember the exact numbers, but it's a crazy amount. Yeah. Like 200 miles an hour, something like 200 mile an hour winds, which theoretically, we've got windows that won't survive that. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of we have a beautiful campus. We have many buildings.
We do.
Some of them will not survive that. Yeah. So it's funny to think that the steeple will be fine. It may be in Kansas, but it'll be fine.
Yeah. Or it may be the only thing standing.
Or the only thing. Yeah. But that's such a great example of, you would have no idea that we would have to talk about that at a local church. Yeah. Like this is a thing that happens. Yeah. That's fun to me.
But that's the kind of stuff that I enjoy doing, and my business background trained me for doing those things. And what I look at, and my wife Claudia has commented on this more than once as I mentioned things that come up at work, and she said, "Oh my gosh, I had no idea these kind of things went on at a church, and if you weren't there doing this, working with the rest of the staff doing this, one of the pastors would have to tackle cell phone towers in steeples and reading contracts and so forth and things like that." And so it's a way that I feel I'm called to serve, so that as I say, I help manage the administrative side of the church so the pastors can be pastors, because God didn't gift me with the gifts that he gifted you and Kiva and Zach, the gifts of preaching and teaching and all those gifts. And so
And we're not gifted and trained to handle a lot of the business that falls on our desk anyway.
Right.
And it's not just that we're not trained for it or called to do it, or in my case, my brain just doesn't function in that way, or if at all sometimes. But that there was a day, that happened recently where you had a day full of meetings with church business, administrative things. There was an HR issue, and you had a full day. Yeah. I had a day where there was someone who was sick. I was trying to plan a sermon series. Yeah. And this too was a full day. Yeah. And before we had a COO position.
And we talked that night, as I recall.
Yeah, it was we had a meeting. Yeah. No, we had a meeting that night.
Oh, that's right. We did have a meeting that night.
And I laid that out here's all the things I had to deal with today, urgently deal with today. Yeah. Here's all the things that Jeff, our COO, had to handle today. And before July 1, that would have all been mine. Yeah. And it's not possible for a human brain to make that many decisions in a day successfully. It's just not. Your batting average goes way down if you're taking that many hits. Yeah.
Well, we've talked about this. I mean, I think the model that we've talked about is the Acts Church. So Acts is one of my favorite books of the Bible anyway.
Mine too.
But I think in the Acts Church, somebody get a Bible and check me out. I think it's chapter 8, where the apostles are going, we can't do all this. Mm-hmm. And they appoint people to manage the administration of the church ministries and all those different things, because they said that's not what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be out preaching and teaching the word. And so I really feel like this is the model that makes sense. And we've talked about that multiple times, and where the book of Acts sets the model for what the church should be.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so glad to have you on board. Do you have? And you're amazing at what you do.
Thank you.
You really are.
Well, we have an amazing staff, so that helps.
Top to bottom, no joke. We have an incredible staff,
and we keep on adding to it. I mean, and what I mean by that is, if you weren't here on Sunday, Gary, our newest addition, Gary Edwards.
Gary's amazing.
If you didn't watch the contemporary service, if you weren't there in person, if you haven't watched online, you need to go right now, pause this podcast, and go over and watch the contemporary service from January 5th. And if you don't have time to watch the whole thing, just watch the opening song. Mm-hmm. I mean, he brought it.
Yeah.
He brought it. Yeah.
That guy, and not just on stage or when he's leading worship, but talking to him one-on-one, he's inspiring.
Yeah.
So we may need to cut this out, so make a note of this, what I'm about to say. Okay. This is a compliment to you. Normally when people step from the business world into church, especially if they've been successful in the business world, they underestimate how difficult and challenging regular church ministry really is. And because the way it looks normal, looks simple, but it's not. The way I describe this as the difference between business world and church world is like the difference between government and Italian government. People dress nicer, there's a lot more hand waving, but you have no clue what's going on, even though you think you do.
And there's marches in the street all the time.
And why? Like why did that cause everything to go haywire? And I was talking to a good friend of our church. He really is, John McKellar at White's Chapel.
Yes. Yeah.
And he likes you. He's a friend of yours. Yeah. And he's a friend of our church. But he was kind of warning me to be prepared in case you didn't last. And he said, I like that Jeff Roper. He's a real good guy, real smart guy.
You do a great John McKellar impression.
Well, thank you very much. What you got to do is think about Batman and make him Cajun, and that's how you sound like John McKellar. And that Jeff Roper, he's a good guy, but church, that's a different kind of quagmire than what he's used to. And I had a guy come home, and he told me the story about he had someone come on staff at a church. I don't even think it was White's Chapel, but basically made it a week. Because of the pressure. And
so that's where I think my time at the conference office really helped me, because I had that as a transition, if you will, from the business world to the local church world. Yeah. And so it softened some of my edges, if you will. In the business world, you can have sharp elbows, and, and nobody gets all that bent out of shape about it because it's sort of the natural order of things. But in the church world, you can't do that. And also, I can say this because you are one, clergy people think differently. So business people, the way I explained it in the conference office was business people think in Excel, and clergy people think in Microsoft Word, and sometimes PowerPoint. It's all about pictures and words and, stuff, and business people are about facts and numbers and decisions. And so I had to learn that at the conference office is how to maneuver in this new environment where people are all about their feelings and all of that. And I'm like, but these are the facts, we've talked about this before when we launched the WIG at the conference, and it seemed like a very logical thing to some of us, and yet other people were like not on board with it, didn't like it because it was putting facts in their face and saying we're not growing our churches and we need to be growing our churches, and people took offense to that because I think we were a bit in your face about it. And so, and I know we've laughed about this before. Again, something you may need to cut out, but
we just won't say the rest of the story. Other than, I will say, a result of that, because I was in the room when that happened, and
you had just gotten back from Kenya, you told me.
Yes, in 2017.
Yeah.
Just gotten back.
Yeah.
And I invited you. It wasn't immediately because we had a lot going on, a lot had changed, but you came and you presented here on the porch. I was about to say 2018, but I think it was the end of 2017. You came out and you shared on the wildly important goal. That's the WIG, which is the importance of growing our church, and how a lot of times we look at the mission field and we just see there's a church on every corner, and there's traffic whenever Compass Church lets out on Sunday. And we kind of feel either defeated, or I think worse, we feel complacent and think everybody's already got a church.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the stats actually show majority of people in our country, and even here in Grapevine, Texas, don't have a church home at all of any kind.
Yeah.
And so if we just got a small percentage of the people who don't have a church home, who need a place to belong, to serve, who need to hear the good news of Jesus Christ, we just got a small percentage, we'd have a parking problem.
Yeah. 50,000 people in zip code 76051. And the stats show nationally, but I think it's true here, the same, the stats show nationally somewhere around 30% or low 30s, less than 40% of people are regular church attenders, and they've changed that definition over time. Now regular church attendance is defined as once a month.
Right. Yeah.
Once a month. So less than 40% of the people are attending a church once a month, and there's 50,000 people just in this one zip code, and we draw people from Colleyville and Hurst and Roanoke and Trophy Club and Flower Mound and Coppell, and
I was about to say, there's no one in the room who lives in that zip code.
Yeah.
And it draws from all around. It's an incredible reminder of a challenge of what we're called to do.
An opportunity.
Such a good opportunity. I mean, the Bible has so many parables and images of working in a garden or in a vineyard. Yeah. And you think, man, it's so much to harvest.
Yeah, the harvest is plentiful.
Right there.
Right?
So what are you excited about for our church for this year? You've got 6 months under your belt.
Yeah.
We've been through a lot. No need to unpack that here. What all our church has come through and survived and thrived.
Thrived, yeah.
And
we're in a really strong place right now.
And thank you for saying that. Jeff actually reminded me of that in a meeting we were just in.
Yeah.
And because I was kind of
You were Grumpy Grant for a minute?
It's been that way for days. Days. Can't seem to break out of it, honestly. I was being a little bit of Grumpy Grant, and you reminded me, no, we didn't just survive all that. We've we've come out stronger than we were before.
Yeah.
And it's so true, but it's human nature to focus on what went wrong. And but really, when you look at our church, you think, man, we're growing.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got great staff.
Yeah.
Things, and not just the pastors. I feel like when I say that, people think I just mean Zach and Kiva, who are incredible. Two of the most talented pastors I've ever worked with. But I mean, top to bottom, great staff. So what? Yeah, I'm rambling now. What are you excited about in the coming year?
Well, I mean, I think first and foremost, it starts with people. It starts with the team, and so we've not only got a great staff, we've got great leadership teams across the different committees, and of course we'll be having an all-church meeting soon and approving the new group of nominees. But I mean, when I work with all the different committees, these are just outstanding groups of people that love their church and want their church to grow. One of the things that I get excited about is everyone wants this church to grow. Yeah. So there's nobody saying, well, we kind of like it this size. And there are churches that are like that. They're like, we kind of like it this size. And people around here are excited about the church growing. They want new people coming in the church. And we have new people coming in of all ages. We have people coming in that are retiree age, and we have people coming in with young children, and just across the spectrum. And so that's exciting to me, that everyone is pulling in the same direction, wanting the church to grow. And I get excited about just all the new ministries and things that we have launched and we're looking at launching as we go forward. I mean, the car ministry just barely got off the ground last year, and already we're getting, just lots of different connections of people saying either they think that's a great idea and they want to see how they can help or be a part of it or come alongside it. And we're also getting other people coming to us saying, I know somebody who needs help with their car or with transportation and things like that. And so that's just one example that we've, like I said, just barely got off the ground in 2024 that I think could go lots of different places in 2025. And so but first and foremost, it starts with the people. A church is made up of the people and the staff, and so I get excited because we've now got you and Kiva and Zach, and you guys have now been working together for a few months, and you've already gelled into a really strong team, and there is zero drop-off when one of you is out. And so Kiva was out last Sunday, boom, we had worship service in the main sanctuary, traditional worship. It was awesome. Gary was here for his first Sunday, and I think we're okay.
It's all right. What just happened was Roper bumped the camera. And Paul and I just looked at each other.
Yeah,
Sorry.
But Gary's here for his first service, worship leader in the contemporary service, so that was great. And so I just look, to me, having top-notch people and the rest of the staff. I mean, we got Josh and Sandy and Ella in Family Ministries. We've got a great facilities team, and we're looking to add a person to that team. We've got just across the board, just got a great team. And so when you look at that, it creates possibilities. When you have that strong of a team, it creates possibilities.
And just in case someone has been under a rock, we did not lose Josh. You just mentioned Josh, and Josh was our worship leader in our contemporary service, but where did he go?
Josh is now our new youth director starting January 1st, and so back as our new youth director. He was youth director here a number of years ago, and was most recently worship leader in contemporary worship, and now is our youth leader. But also available for special music and things like that. So we'll utilize him in those ways as well. But having a strong staff, we've got great facilities. We're a block off of Main Street. I mean, to me, what that does is great possibilities. And really is just, how can God work through us to explore these different possibilities of different things we could do? Could we add new worship services? Could we add new ministries? Could we expand existing ministries? I mean, it's just so much excitement, and you can feel it among the people in the congregation as well. You feel it in the meetings. We were just in a meeting last night. You could feel the excitement in that meeting. Everybody's really excited about the church and where it's going. So.
A stat that you said earlier, Grant, and that was, or earlier this week, how many baptisms have we had in the last 6 months?
10 or 11, and children and adults.
Yeah.
Which, other than a time when like you're baptizing a lot of confirmands or doing something special, we've never had a streak like that just during normal time.
Yeah.
And that was pretty remarkable of an experience. And not just baptisms of, some people who wanted their kids baptized,
Right.
But people who are genuinely invested in our community, and they're here and excited, and God's doing incredible things in their lives. I mean, each and every person and family had a great story to share about how God is transforming their lives. It was the last one we did where it was 3 at once.
Yeah. Yeah.
I kind of got teary-eyed afterwards. It was very powerful. We've had several weddings of church members here recently, and I've done more weddings than funerals this year. I've never, in my time, and I've been at this for a while, never had anything like that.
And new members. We have another new member coming on Sunday. So new members joining, and that's exciting.
I was thinking about that on Sunday when I was chatting with I won't say his name, but he's a new member, and I just thought, I didn't know this guy a year ago.
Yeah.
And what a joy, what a blessing.
And now, not only is he involved in our church, but he's active in one of our ministries.
Yes.
Yes,
you know exactly who I'm talking about.
And taking a strong role in that ministry. So, yeah. And before I couldn't have picked him out of
I knew he existed.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. So many visitors coming. We're getting lots of visitors. And our online viewership is just going through the roof. And without exception, unless there's someone who has, I talked to 3 visitors yesterday, and they all had followed Kiva and come up here to see her, and then she wasn't here; she was out. But they were excited to be here, and but other than that, every visitor I've spoken with in the last probably 8 or 9 months has watched us online first. So they're all watching our online worship, and then they check us out, and then they're coming and worshiping in person, which is exciting.
I'm excited about the energy bubbling up around our village ministries.
Yeah. And
what that means is we have partnerships locally and around the world with other churches, other organizations, where we think of like your city having a sister city somewhere else. It's not just about us parachuting in and writing checks and feeling good about ourselves, but building relationships and seeing how we can assist ministries that are happening in places, and also then in turn be blessed by these relationships and get new creative ideas for ministry and really help one another to grow. Our villages include Grapevine, which is here. That's home for us. And we consider that our local ministry to our neighbors, which you think should be simple, but you know how it is in life. You get your blinders on. And so we try to be intentional to remember that God calls us to our neighbors first. Love your neighbor as yourself. And God means that literally.
Yeah.
Kenya, we partner with an entire conference there. We support missionaries who ride motorcycles and plant churches, and we do medical camps.
Isn't there a Kenya meeting this week talking about a trip that's coming
There's
up?
a Kenya meeting tonight.
Tonight, okay.
Yeah. Or it was on Tuesday night. Because we're traveling through space and time.
We are traveling through space and time. That's correct. Yeah.
But it's about a trip that they're planning for like June or July, right?
June, yes.
Sometime in the summer, I believe.
Yes.
Sometime in the summer.
I want to go so bad, but my mom won't let me.
Can't get a permission slip.
No, my mom will never let me go back because of my health. Nothing to do with Kenya, because it was an incredible country, an amazing experience. I loved it. Latvia, we partner with a church in Riga, the capital of Latvia. Stop what you're doing and look it up on a map, because I know you don't already know. And that's an amazing experience. Paul and I got to go just a few months ago.
They're planning another trip. I believe it's July. June? Is it June? Okay. June. And it's the 25th 20th anniversary of the Wesley Camp.
which is a children's camp, and for a lot of these families, it's the one time that they hear the gospel message and really get exposed to Christ and to the Bible, and it's an exciting ministry to partner with. It's beautiful. You can find pictures of it on our social media. It's basically in an orchard in Northern Europe. I mean, just so picturesque, and the people there are wonderful. So that's an incredible village. Also, Costa Rica, which I've been to before. I've been 2-3 times. It's all a blur now. When we do a couple different things there, that's a little bit more of a hands-on. Of all of our villages, you think of like that's a little bit more of we go and we do some work on the children's home, as well as there's a small town kind of out a little bit from the city where we go and put on a Christmas party and help support a pastor.
And we just had a trip come back from that, 2 weeks ago?
Right before Christmas.
Right before Christmas, yeah.
Yeah, has it already been 2 weeks? It feels like 2 hours.
Yeah, it's been more than 2 weeks.
Yeah. So these are exciting things, and during COVID, all that just went.
When new people going on these trips, by the way,
which is always important to me.
Yeah.
Always important to have new people going, because pilgrimage is kind of an ancient thing.
Yeah,
and the church used to really promote it. I mean, hundreds, thousands of years ago. And I think going and seeing a different context, seeing what God is doing somewhere else, gives you fresh insight on what God is doing back home.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah.
Speaking
of Kenya, we got a report. I think I shared this with you, but we got a report. The bishop gets reports from all the various missionaries that we provide these motorcycles to, and he gathered up these reports and he sent them in to us, and they're on our website if you want to see them. I'll have to think about where they are on the website, but they're on our website, the different reports, and they are fascinating. Where they talk about riding their motorcycles out into these remote places, and sometimes they can't get there because the roads are not passable. And one of the missionaries preached 9 times in a single day as he made different stops along his route. And so,
Grant,
just amazing.
Tell us why do they have to have motorcycles?
Great question, and you might need to delete what I'm about to say. I preached 4 times once in a day and ended up in a hospital a few days later.
Yeah.
So,
and this guy got back on his motorcycle.
On his motorcycle.
Yeah.
So, great question. Yeah. Why do they have to ride motorcycles? Because they can't. Where they're going, they can't take a car or a Land Rover. Right. It's too.
There's barely roads in some places. Yeah.
Barely roads, and plus it's expensive. Yeah. They have very little money, and they've got to go to like really off the beaten path locations. They can't ride a bicycle because bicycles are scary to elephants. Elephants, I have learned, do not naturally attack humans. They're smart enough to know, hey, they're fine. They're not going to bother me if I don't bother them. But a bicycle, that seems like a scary, dangerous animal to them. So they trample you if you're on a bicycle. And they'll try to trample you on a motorcycle, but hopefully it's fast enough to get away from an elephant, which I think, I don't think they teach that in the motorcycle license class that they do at the mall parking lot here. Yeah. Watch out for elephants. Yeah. I don't think that's something that you have to do.
In seminary, did you take that class?
I was going to say, neither did they cover that in seminary.
Oh, no. Yeah. No. Yeah. And so when I went, and of course we buy these motorcycles, and they're not Harley Davidsons, okay? Like they're small and cheap, just very practical. But no one from our team had ever ridden on one. And I was just aghast. What do you mean? What do you mean? You've never ridden on one of these motorcycles? So I talked to one of the guys there, Abraham. Still message with him on WhatsApp sometimes. And he put his nasty helmet on my head, which I'll never forget. He didn't even ask me, just bonk on my head. Uh-huh. Put me on the back of his motorcycle, and we rode around Meru town. It was the scariest, most exhilarating experience of my life. But then we got the whole team we put someone from our team on the back of every motorcycle of the crew that they had there. And we just took a little ride down to the gas station and we filled up all their motorcycles for them. Yeah. But it was a blast, and that was not the best part of the day. As a car enthusiast, that was of course exciting to me, but what I really loved was we got to worship with them. Yeah. Hear their stories. They had questions about kind of which books of the Bible I really like to preach from, and what do you think about this in this context, which was fascinating, deep conversation.
Yeah.
And they just want to pick my brain. Now they're incredible. I'm humbled by the ministry that they do.
Yeah.
And they still were hungry and open enough to listen to some guy from Grapevine.
But that's what you pastors do, right? You and Zach and Kiva,
You're right.
sit there and kick around. We're going to preach from this scripture, and what do you think about it? And
what do you think about that? That's what exactly. You're right. You're absolutely right. And it felt just like that.
Yeah.
Even though they're on the other side of the planet.
Yeah. They still want to do the same thing. They still want to explore the Word with their fellow pastors.
And it was great, not just for me, but everybody went on that team to get to partner with them, hear their stories, share their faith, worship together.
Yeah.
It was powerful, really powerful.
Yeah.
But what should we talk about next? I'm excited. I'm just excited about that. I would love to see more people go. I'm dreaming up ways to celebrate that, because we have a few people who have gone on multiple village trips, meaning not just Latvia or Kenya or Costa Rica, but different ones. I think I'm one of the few who's done all of them. Wayne McNinch, Kenda Deem, that may be it. Maybe just three of us who have done
all of those.
What I like to call the Grand Tour.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'd like to celebrate that. Maybe have a little Grapevine passport. Get you a little stamp. Go on your village trip. And, you get 2 different awards or recognitions if you go like multiple to each village, which I've not done.
Yeah.
Kenya is the only one I've not got a double.
Yeah.
Come on, Mom, let me go. Just ways to celebrate it. I mean, that's a goofy thing. It doesn't really matter, but that's not the real incentive.
Yeah.
That's just making something fun. The real incentive is to go and share, and we just want to celebrate and encourage and make something fun out of it.
Yep. Yeah.
Right? What should we talk about next?
Well, you asked a question at the beginning, and you said, what
was the most meaningful? Yeah. Thank you for reminding. I was about to say, I look to you because, what are we supposed to do? What was the most meaningful part of the holiday season for you, Jeff?
Oh, gosh. Well, we had my son and his family in town for the holidays for the first time in a long time. And they have 3 of our grandchildren, 9, Landon's 9, Autumn's 8, and Tegan's 5. And so then our other grandson lives down here, Nolan. And so we had all the grandchildren on Christmas Day at our house. And that was really exciting and a lot of fun. We often go up to Boston at Christmas time to visit them. And so we don't always get all of them all together. And so it's fun having all the grandkids together. So that was fun.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had a big crew you were at a lot longer than normal.
Oh, yeah, they were there almost 10 days. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a lot.
You have I bet your home felt small with that much of a crowd.
It felt loud.
In a good way.
It felt loud, I can tell you that. the day after they went back home, they left on last Friday. Yeah. It was quiet on Saturday. Yeah. And Claudia commented on that. But it was fun. We had a lot of fun.
Good.
So, yeah. Family is always good to be around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have an answer?
Both my kids and their significant others were at the house for several hours on Christmas Day, and it was a lot of laughing, a lot of fun. We played a game. I don't know if you've ever heard a game called Herd Mentality. And
that's a board game, right?
It's a board game, and we had a lot of fun.
Son-in-law is a board game nut job. Oh, yeah. Worse than me.
Yeah. And so had a lot of fun with that, but a lot of laughing. And that's what we can always do when we get together is guarantee a lot of laughing.
That's good. So I've got 2 answers to the question. One is, now hear me out. I don't mean this in a egotistical, self-serving way, but the process and the conversations around my Christmas Eve message that I gave was very meaningful and powerful because I'm very self-critical. When I think about Grant's preaching, I think, not a fan. But one particular growth area I've had is I feel like the High Holy Days, the messages that I've delivered have not been as good as my regular season messages and the content that I create for Bible studies and confirmation and other things like that. I've just always felt like that was a huge weak point, and I felt very insecure about it. And I went to lunch and had a conversation with a dear friend who is a pastor and he's a counselor. So he plays a lot of roles in my life right now. And that's, am I allowed to say his name? Is that fine, you think? Paul Cope. You're going to have to really edit this and go through and make sure I have permission to even mention him. He's the husband of our administrator, of our executive administrator. And I just talked through him about my feelings, my insecurities about preparing for this, and he really helped me to focus and coached me on, here's what you need to try to say to the people that God brings to your church on this very special moment. And those conversations really led to, what are these Christmas traditions that we celebrate? What do they mean? Yeah. And how do we make them more meaningful? How do we get the most out of Christmas and all the things surrounding it? And that led to the message that I presented, which in my opinion of what happened has led to a lot of spirit-filled conversations about, what are these traditions? What are we really celebrating? How do we make more of it this year? Both from a religious perspective, but I think also personally. The other thing that meant a lot to me this holiday season is I've got a lot going on in my little world and a lot of things in my little personal life orbit that have been really difficult. And add that to, I'm really not very good at holidays personally either. Just not good at it. I'm there for you for regular day life stuff. I'm there for you when things get really hard, but for some reason holidays have not been a strength in my personal life. And I got to spend good time with great family and friends, a lot more than I think I probably have in years, and made some great memories and hopefully some new traditions. And I found that to be very meaningful, especially in an unexpected place. I try to put more effort in, but honestly, I just thank God for it, because it's not. I did not make it special. The Lord blessed me with more special memories than I deserve. And so both of those things, personally and spiritually, just thinking about these important traditions and these stories, and how do we celebrate them and share them, and what is the Advent wreath about? Why do we have Christmas trees in our house? Thinking through those things, it felt like a real blessing, and I thank God for it. And I'm very grateful again to my friend Paul Cope, who has coached me. That's been something I'm excited about in the coming year. So this past year, I had to humbly accept more coaching on my messaging, more input from other people. Paul has helped. Sorry, too many people named Paul. I'll refer back to his old nickname, Dr. Peanut Butter here. This Paul sitting next to me has really coached me a lot with my sermon writing this past year, and it's made a difference in my work. But it's hard for pastors to get to a point where we really say, I need your help. How would you say this? Talk me through this. Yeah. What am I missing? And it's been rough. Had to eat some humble pie. Humble pie for the holidays. But that's, I think, led to a blessing in my work, and which has allowed me to be a part of better conversations with all of you, dear listeners, and with people that God is moving in and through. And that just means so, so much to me. So that's why I look forward in the coming year, leaning into that some more, having more conversations, getting more help and influence and input, so that everything we put forward, every sermon, every Bible study, every podcast, will be even better.
A tradition that started, and you've talked about it before on this podcast, and that is our walk on Christmas Eve. And it grew to about almost probably about 18 people this year. And it was a lot of fun.
It was so fun. We've talked about it on here before, but before the service at 11 o'clock p.m. on Christmas Eve, about an hour before, those of us who are here go for a walk on Main Street. Our church is one block off of Main Street that is very decorated. Most of the time it's quiet on Christmas Eve, although the past couple years there have been a lot of people out and about. And we've started to extend that invitation to all of you, anyone who's aware. Come if you want to and walk with us. And we had a number of people walk with us for the first time, and that included old friends, church members we've known for a long time, as well as a couple people who were brand new to our church. And that was a very meaningful thing for us to share together, and I thank God for that. And that's part of this year. We're going to be trying to make more memories, like more opportunities for us to make memories as a church family.
Yeah.
So our theme for the year, I feel like as we are wrapping up, it's a good time to mention it. We've kind of talked around it, some themes, some concepts. Here's our theme for the year. 2025 is a year of Jubilee. That is a biblical concept dating back to the first books of the Old Testament, about a time where God calls the people to take a year to celebrate God's blessings, to let the land rest, to let the people rest in God, and to celebrate the freedom that we have in God. And the way that they would honor that at the time was the forgiving of debts, freeing of slaves, like really working towards freedom in the community. So here at First Grapevine, we want to celebrate that we have thrived through difficult times, that we've been blessed with new staff, new members, new friends, and we want to make the most out of that. So create more opportunities for fun together, celebrate. We've got some ideas about how we want our ministries to focus on freedom, whether it be financial freedom for those who are hurting and suffering. The transportation ministry, the car ministry, which started as, can we just get a car and work on it and give it to somebody who needs it? That's going to grow and expand because we're finding that the inability to drive to work, to drive around, that's a prison that a lot of people have to live in, and we want to help, and we feel called and led to help. So that's just one example. That's just the tip of the iceberg. There's more to come, but this is a year of Jubilee, year of celebration, of giving thanks, of making more memories, making new traditions, and really celebrating God's presence in our community. That sound like a good summary to you?
Yes, definitely.
Sound like a good summary to you?
Sounds wonderful.
Any last words, Mr. Roper?
No, I'm just, just to say I'm excited to be here, and just very thankful to all the members that have welcomed me, that have thanked me, that have worked with me, that have supported me and the rest of the team, and very thankful for the staff. Again, we just have a wonderful staff, and if you've ever played sports and been on a championship team, it just feels different being on a championship team. And back when I was in high school, I played soccer. Our team won the county championship. It just felt different that year. And it feels like we've got the championship team here, and like nothing can stop us. God's got us on a winning roll. And so that's exciting. And not just the staff team, but the whole church team. Really just everybody's really excited, and you feel the energy. You feel the energy in the room every Sunday. So,
well, thank you for saying that. And I'm going to say something nice about you, which I wouldn't do unless there were cameras and microphones. I don't know why I work that way. Something about a microphone makes me incredibly, dangerously honest. I think of all of the impactful staff that we've added this year, you have made the most difference here for First Grapevine, not just with your business skills and your financial understanding, which, I mean, you are so smart. No, you probably don't get told that often enough, that you are a brilliant man.
Thank you.
But, your spirit, your heart, and you're reminding us, those of us who, we've been playing a long season, and we're starting to feel the injuries, helped us to remember how exciting this is that we get to do the work that God has called us to do.
Absolutely.
And again, everybody on staff, those who have been with us and are new, have a huge impact for the kingdom of God. But if I have to give an MVP to our season, it's got to go to you. And we're all grateful from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you.
Thank you. It's just been a lot of fun.
And I'm glad I'm still here.
Yeah.
I am. Not that was really in question, but, you get really tired and you go through a rough time and you think, is this still what I want to do? Is this still what God wants me to do? And, this year has been just a resounding yes.
Yeah.
I'm more excited about ministry and serving God than I've been in a long time. 10 years. Yeah. Easy, 10 years.
Yeah. That's exciting. It's exciting.
I think that's it, Paul.
Okay.
Do you want me to wrap us up?
Let's.
So what we like to say here, though, at the end is if you need to talk to somebody, if you've got something going on, we hope that you would send us an email or give us a call. We want to pray with you. We want to be a part of your faith journey. We'd love to know your answer to the question, what did you find most meaningful during the holiday season? Whether it happened here at church or happened at home with your family or just while you're taking a walk by yourself. We'd love to hear more about that. But seriously, you got something weighing on you. Don't be a stranger. Love to talk to you. We'd love to see you in person. You can find us down on Church Street. Thank you for being here with us. Have a blessed day.